For our next session, I will have Arnab Devnath come on stage to introduce the next set of speakers. Arnab is the Vice President of the IITBAA Area Alumni Association. He is also Vice President of Business Development for Fortanix. So on the days when he's here, not in Japan, he will, even from, across the oceans, he will help us do the conference planning and execution. He has a long list of accomplishments, which I cannot enumerate due to lack of time, but I would like you to know that our team's accomplishment today is convincing Arnab that he needs to spend a minute on stage and get a little bit of applause. So please join me in welcoming Arnab. Thank you.
Does it work? Okay. Thank you, Swapnil. Okay. Everybody, after lunch, sleeping? No, good. Okay, so we've come to our next keynote session. Let me start with saying, actually, maybe I can say this, I can bet $1 million that everybody in this room know this jungle called Amazon, both geographically, physically, and digitally. Amazon touches all of our life globally. But I want to see how many people here know this other ocean called digital ocean. Any show of hand who knows? Not that many. Okay, let me help you out. DigitalOcean is a AI and cloud services company, offers simple, powerful platforms to developers, startups, and small to medium companies to build digital native businesses. And I didn't know this, I found out. Apparently, they're the third largest cloud company going by the number of customers to the tune of 750,000 customers. Bratin, is that correct? Yeah. But more importantly, why it's relevant now, at least for today's conversation, is what the work they have been doing over the last probably year or so, pioneering work in the area of Agentic AI and redefining how to use Agentic AI to build, use, and scale cloud services. So to take a deeper plunge and to really know about this new emerging area of redefining cloud services, let's hear it from our next speaker, Bratin Saha. Dr. Bratin Saha. A few words about him. Bratin is, as I said, he is with DigitalOcean. He's the Chief Product and Technology Officer, driving, of course, all their new and product and technology initiatives. But before that, he was the Vice President and General Manager at NVIDIA for their AI, machine learning, and data infrastructure. I'm sorry, he was with AWS, where he led the creation of one of the fastest growing business in the history of AWS. And then before that, he was a VP of AI infrastructure in NVIDIA. And even before that, he was in multiple leadership roles at Intel. He has about 70 patents granted in his name, and then several others pending. So let's call him in. Put your hand together for Dr. Bratin Saha. Thank you, Bratin.
Thank you.
Thank you for doing this.
Totally.
Yeah. You have a mic?
Yeah. Hello, everyone. Thank you for being here. I'm going to talk a little bit about how I think agents are going to change the cloud. You must have heard a lot about agents and AI. A lot of the previous speakers, as well as panelists, talked about it. And I believe, that it's really going to change the way we live and work. And so the question becomes, how are agents going to impact the cloud? Now, before I get started, let me do a quick quiz. True or false? In 2030, AI agents get so advanced that they get promoted to middle management, and now the auto-decline meetings, they schedule themselves. Now, if this happens to be true, and I won't say whether it will happen to be true or not, but if this happens to be true, I'm sure there'll be a lot of stuff we'll talk about 5 years from now when we get together. But in the rest of the talk, let me talk about what we are doing in the meantime. starting with an introduction to DigitalOcean. As Arnab mentioned, we are the third largest cloud when measured by number of customers. We actually have 640,000 customers across 190 countries. I'm told the United Nations recognizes 191 countries, so there's some place where we actually don't have a customer, but we have a pretty good global presence, as you can imagine. And we serve them through a global set of data centers. We have them in the US, in Canada, a bunch of countries in EU. We have them in Singapore, Sydney, India, and we have more data centers coming up as well. The reason that a lot of our customers use us is because of the TCO advantage. So if you're using a hyperscaler, you will at least get a 30% lower cost, at least a 30% lower cost, and at least a 40% faster time to value when you come over to DigitalOcean. And that is really the reason why we have 640,000 paying customers, and we get 120,000 new paying customers every year. So all of this is good. And all of us say that AI is going to change everything. It's going to change the way we live and work. And so the question becomes, what does AI mean for the cloud? And 5 years from now, if that thing happens, AI agents are getting promoted to middle management, what would the cloud look like? And I think there are going to be 3 key pillars that AI will introduce into the cloud. And the first is you aren't going to have the same UX as you have today. You're not going to go in and allocate an instance and do coding and so on and so forth. It'll become a much more natural language-based interface. The second is that a lot of the work that's done in clouds, DevOps, MLOps, CloudOps, FinOps, deployments, monitoring, dashboard monitoring, a lot of that will get done by agents. A lot of that will get automated. A lot of that will get agents. And then the third is, OK, if this cloud is going to be coming up, and we actually call this DigitalOcean.next, the next generation of the cloud, if this cloud is going to be built, what is the infrastructure that you need within the cloud? And in the rest of this talk, I'm going to spend more time digging deeper into each one of these pillars. But let me start with the first one, and let me tell you how the new cloud will look like. So today, we have a web hosting software called Cloudways. It was recently ranked by CNET as the most popular, as the #1 web hosting site in the world. It's a WordPress web hosting site. And so the way it works, and it's used by more than 100,000 customers. And so the way it works is when customers are using it and they're hosting their websites, if they run into issues, they try to debug it themselves. Often, a lot of customers that are using it for hosting the websites may not know all of the intricacies of the cloud or WordPress, and then they call us. Call customer support, and then we'll have to go in and help them debug it. Today, we get 600,000 calls a year just for WordPress. 600,000 calls. Each one of these calls lasts about an hour. Okay, so we spend about 600,000 hours every year helping customers debug their system issues, web hosting issues, WordPress issues, and so on and so forth. And so earlier this month, we launched a new feature. We asked ourselves, hey, if we were building Cloudways now from the ground up, how would we build it? And the answer was pretty simple. You would use AI to do a lot of the work that today has to be done manually. So let me show you what we launched. This is not a demo, by the way. This is not a video demo. This is a product that we launched that is already in the hands of tens of thousands of customers.
Meet Cloudways Copilot, your AI-powered partner that quickly detects, analyzes, and resolves critical issues so you can stay focused on your business. One common example of a critical issue is disk space exhaustion, which can slow down or even stop your applications from running smoothly. Managing incidents like these becomes effortless. The moment your disk space nears full capacity, Copilot proactively alerts you with clear details. In this case, it pinpoints that the root partition is 97% full, and the cause is a single oversized file, test.txt. It guides you with precise recommendations. Review the file to check its purpose. Compress or archive it if it's not essential. Of course, with Copilot, resolving issues is even simpler. Just click Fix with Cloudways Copilot and watch as Copilot freeing up valuable disk space. You can even verify the action directly in your server settings. Cloudways, the #1 hosting powered by AI.
So this is what the future of the cloud would look like. This is what the future of applications would look like. Is that you as a software developer are no longer really going in and fixing the bugs. You as a software developer no longer even necessarily have to monitor what's going on. In this case, and this applies to a lot of errors that we see on Cloudways, there's an AI agent that's constantly running, that's monitoring the logs. When something happens, it goes in, examines all of the logs, does the root causing, figures out what went wrong, and then comes in and says, here are the ways to solve the problem. Now, it doesn't go in and solve the problem itself. We always have a human in the loop. So it comes in and shows the human developer, these are the ways we think it should be fixed. And when the human developer comes in and presses fix, that's how it goes and does it. And that is what I mean by the next generation cloud. It's something that will be totally natural language driven, automated with agents. Now, if developers are going to use this, how would the cloud operate? Like if many of you, if you are in the cloud business, you would know there is a CEF2, there is a page at midnight, you have to get up, you have to root cause the stuff. Well, this is how now we operate the DigitalOcean cloud. In fact, I think this is one of the most sophisticated uses of agents in the industry today.
Today, I'm going to walk you through how we troubleshoot incidents inside DigitalOcean. I'm going to use a real customer escalation as our example. As you can see, the customer here has reported issues in our cloud panel, and the customer support team is verified and can replicate the issue. At DigitalOcean, before we start calling in teams to troubleshoot, we run our AI agent first to help us determine root cause. We simply provide the time of the escalation and the text from the support ticket. We then let our agent do its work. The agent then begins to analyze our large volumes of logs and telemetry, detecting patterns, anomalies, and any log that is determined to be related to the issue the customer reported. The agent gathers the initial findings, repeats the analysis again and again, until it ultimately finds what is determined as a source of the issue. Key findings are then summarized within minutes, indicating what it has determined as the issue, and additional details around errors that occurred at the same time for verification. A chart is also produced, and when we drill into it, we can easily determine the full outage window, as well as review the log entries that were identified. Scrolling through these findings, we quickly identify the match that was made on the reported error. We can also jump to the source of truth to review additional details and the raw log itself. In this incident, the agent pointed us to the exact log showing that a database plan was offered but not enabled correctly. This was determined automatically, replacing the need to reach out and engage multiple engineering teams to jump online and help troubleshoot. In fact, in this particular example, an engineer also found the issue manually without the help of the agent, and it took 9 minutes longer to identify. So putting this all together, by using these AI agents, we could quickly find root cause of an issue, eliminate the cost and the delay in bringing in multiple engineering teams to diagnose, and restore services up to 37% faster for our customers than we ever could before.
The key part in here was that, initially we were running this in shadow mode, so the AI agent would do it and a human engineer would do it. And the AI agent, as you heard, was actually root causing incidents faster than our human engineers. Now, these are engineers who are experts. These are SRE engineers who are experts, who have been with us for a long time, know the code, and yet these AI agents, in many cases, are able to perform better. In fact, our time to resolution of failures has gone down by almost 37% because many of these are now being root caused by AI agents. And that is what I mean by the next generation of the cloud. A lot of the work that is today done human workflows will get automated. And so the reason that I'm going through this is at DigitalOcean, we are starting with this thing of, hey, if I were to build the cloud from the ground up today, how would I build it? Which parts would still have manual portions? Which parts would just get offloaded to a human, to an AI agent with a human in the loop? Now, as we thought of all this, we have a lot of good AI people in the company, so we partner with a lot of companies. One of them, Galileo, will be here. Anush from AMD will be here in terms of the partnerships we do on the hardware side. But the question is, if this is going to be so transformative, how do we enable everybody to develop agents? How do we enable every customer, regardless of the fact whether they have AI experts, to actually build agents and transform their business with agents? Now, it turns out that there is a lot of need and demand for this. This is a survey result that came out, a third-party survey result that talked to enterprise developers. And it turns out 99% of them, or pretty much everybody, wants to build agents over the next 12 months. And in fact, 90+% of companies want to deploy agents in the next 12 months. But here's the catch. About only 20% of developers feel that they have the skills to do this. And so our goal at DigitalOcean is not just bridging this gap, not just building it ourselves, but also bridging this gap, because only then have we truly transformed our customer experience, and only then does AI get truly democratized, and only then does AI change the way we live and work. And it turns out that very few developers feel like they have the skills to do the job, and even when they do it, they usually use about a dozen tools, which makes it even harder to do. So why this? Why is agentic development so hard? And the reason is there are a few fundamental reasons about AI that's different than any other technology that has come before. One of them is that it's non-deterministic. Never before have we really come up with technologies. Think of software, think of cars, think of PCs. They were always deterministic. You give it an input, and you get back the same output. AI is different. It's probabilistic, which means you give it an input, and you can get different kinds of outputs. How do we deploy such a technology which is non-deterministic? The other thing that's very different about AI is that it's supposed to generalize at runtime. In other words, it's supposed to handle inputs that it has never seen before. All of software is based on testing. I'm going to give you all kinds of inputs that you're supposed to be seeing at runtime, and I'm going to test it, I'm going to deploy it, and you're supposed to work only on the set of inputs that were provided to you during testing. And then you start increasing your test coverage and so on. With AI, that paradigm doesn't work, because the whole point of AI is that you should be able to generalize and handle inputs that you've never seen during training. And so there are a lot of fundamental reasons why AI development is a different kettle of fish, and why so many developers feel like they don't have the skills, and why the current set of tools are not good enough for AI development. And that is why we also again went back and said, you know what? Software development was hard as well when it came up. And what made it automated and robust and quote unquote easier was the development of a software development lifecycle, a set of tools, a set of processes, things like CI/CD, things like version control and so on. What does agent development lifecycle look like? That is what the industry needs, is something that systematizes and creates a robust agent development lifecycle. And that is why we have developed what we call the Gradient AI platform, which is a one-stop shop for all of the tools and the end-to-end agent development lifecycle. Building agents, testing and debugging agents, deploying agents, monitoring agents, and the other thing, because you have to iterate a lot, because you put something out there, it often will not work. It almost usually will not work at the first try, and you need a lot of iterations to get it in the ballpark of the kind of performance you need. But as I said, the key thing about this platform is not just that it has features. From our perspective, we have 640,000 customers, DNEs, digital native enterprises. From our perspective, if we have to truly democratize AI, then it has to become accessible to companies and people and customers who may not have large data science teams. That is when we truly bring AI to the masses. And I wanted to show you an example of a company that is actually, we have thousands, in fact, maybe more than 10, I think more than, we launched this platform, I think, a couple of quarters back. I believe we have more than 15,000 agents that have been developed on this, so we have a lot of customers using it. I wanted to show you the example of a company, small company, startup, not full of AI expertise, that is using this in very interesting ways.
So everything started when our founders spent years working in industrial digitalization. We created the first digital customer platform as a service. We tried to translate critical machine errors delivered by industrial plants in real time into clear, actionable steps for our customers. These led us to explore AI solutions to enhance both the user experience and also the operational efficiency. We did a lot of research about different AI platforms and also different native models. But to be fair, we quickly come back to DigitalOcean's Gen AI because it appeared to be so simple, it integrates easily in our existing infrastructure, and it's also cost effective as well as cost transparency was really great for us. So for our small team, it's been a real game changer. Getting started with DigitalOcean's Gen AI was incredibly easy. We really appreciated the intuitive design. Where setting up and deploying our first agent took just like a few minutes. This allowed us to quickly implement AI capabilities without requiring extensive setup processes or even specialized expertise from our side. And that was truly a game changer for us.
What this company does, I don't know if you caught the use case, it probably didn't come out fully in the video, is they serve IoT customers. So they have a platform for their customers who, when they install machinery, who, when something goes down with the machinery, come to this platform, look up manuals and so on. And what they developed was an agent where you don't have to do all of that lookup and so on. You come to that agent and say, here is what the customer is saying is wrong about the platform. And the agent, just like I said in the first one, in the case of Cloudways, actually comes in and spits out the steps that you need to do this. And now they developed the first agent in a matter of probably a couple of hours. And now they're doing dozens more. And we have some customers, similar, small size, not a lot of expertise, who are deploying hundreds of agents. And the reason that I'm going into this detail is I think it's time for all of us, it's time for every leader, it's time for every individual to start asking that question that I started with. I started with, because I'm in the cloud business, how will the cloud change with AI? I think it's important for every one of us to start asking ourselves, how will my work, how will my company change, and how should my company change? And then, how do I prepare myself and how do I prepare my company for that change? What I'm showing here with DigitalOcean is us going through this journey and asking ourselves, how will the cloud change? Okay, let's go build it. What Autonoma is doing here is asking the same thing. How will industrial manufacturing change? And then going in and doing the same thing. And that really is the key message of this talk. It's time to get serious about AI, about agents, about automation, about natural language, and start thinking about what you can do to transform your company and the way they work. Okay. So we have done a lot of benchmarking, and one of the things you will notice is that nothing here, we don't really start necessarily with performance, we start with simplicity. How quickly and how easily can you get started? And we have done a lot of benchmarking. Third parties have done a lot of benchmarking. On an average, you take less than half the time and you get more accuracy to get the job done. Because we think The simplicity, the ease of use, getting started, getting a job done, time to value, that is what will determine whether our customers are able to successfully deploy AI, which they must if they have to get into the new era. Okay, that was about how we are transforming the cloud and how we are helping our customers change how they work. The next thing is, what is the infrastructure? What does the infrastructure look like? And that is where we have the gradient AI infrastructure, and we think the infrastructure of the future will be driven by inference. And that is where GPUs that are really efficient for inference become very important. And so we have both AMD and NVIDIA GPUs. But you also need a bunch of other stuff. You still need CPUs, because a lot of this code is orchestration code, software code, agents that are running on the CPUs. You still need high-performance databases. You still need vector databases. You, of course, need networking and storage. So this is really about taking core cloud features and then making it really high performance for inference. Now, I mentioned before we partner with a lot of companies, and one of the companies that we partner with very closely is AMD, who has really some of the best performing GPUs now for inference. And so I'm very happy to welcome Anush Elangovan, Corporate VP in AMD, to talk more about how they have been thinking about AI, how they have been customizing the GPUs and the software for AI. Thank you, Anush.
Thanks, Bratin. I'm Anush Elangovan. I run the GPU software group at AMD. Like Bratin mentioned, I think each one of you are probably thinking about AI in some form and how it's going to transform your business. What I'd like to talk about is choice in how you deploy AI, how you consume AI. If there's one summary of what I'm going to talk about, it's just like whenever you see AI, think of AMD also. That summarizes my entire talk. But then I have a few more slides I'll talk about. AMD has been building very competitive hardware. And recently, we made a very, very focused effort on our software ecosystem. And obviously, we partner very closely with DigitalOcean to make it all accessible. In a few months that we launched our developer cloud on the DigitalOcean platform, we are seeing like 95% utilization or more on the dev cloud, just in terms of like people experimenting with it and then going to production with DigitalOcean. There's an example of a real-world customer I'll talk about in the last minute or so. But we have been delivering very competitive GPUs and very competitive software. So the main thing is, before anything, accuracy and performance is like table stakes for AI, right? So we make sure that that is covered, and then we partner deeply with DigitalOcean to make it accessible and available to you with with your TCO in mind, so that when you deploy these 15,000 agents, it could add up. And that's where our performance and TCO story really comes together and still accessible with what DigitalOcean provides. So I'm just going to touch on a few things here. Key pillars, we have day zero support, which means we don't lag behind anything. Any model that comes out, it's supported day zero, it's performant day zero. And then importantly, we have deepening relationships with the entire ecosystem, PyTorch, VLLM, SGLang, all of them just work out of the box. You don't need to do any code changes. That's an important takeaway. We make sure that you just run exactly what you have in your ML platforms in your incumbent deployment to AMD. And we are doubling down on a developer-first approach. So you'll see some of that activity pick up over the next few weeks, months. And the ROCm stack is comparable to what you're used to, right? But the more important point is it's fully open source. So you can actually make changes to any part of the stack. It is not a walled garden. It is performant out of the box. We provide a seamless developer experience, and we allow you to port from existing deployments very quickly. And performance and TCO are the key pillars, but then quickly after that is reliability and quality. So we have an open source ecosystem, like I mentioned. We are doing continuous software delivery. In fact, a lot of our CI/CD pipelines run on DigitalOcean. And we're just going in first principles in terms of like how we develop software at AMD. And I'll just pick one example for a customer. So this was a real customer that we partnered with DigitalOcean to bring to market. It was an AI native company. It is an AI native company with multiple thousands of GPUs for deployment. It was for multimodal inference. We delivered performance on par or better, so it's parity plus. And then we had the whole TCO layer come in. So if there's any one of you that is consuming a significant amount of GPUs, talk to Bratin. He has all of our MI300s, 325s, 355s now, and we'll make sure you'll have a delightful experience with DigitalOcean and AMD. Yeah, that's all I had. Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you, Anush. Thank you, Anush. We ourselves have taken a lot of our own, all of the agents work that you were saying, running on the AMD GPUs now. I wanted to end with just one slide, and in fact, Vikram from Galileo, he'll probably also be talking a little bit. They are a very close partner of ours as well. We think in this era, if you have to innovate quickly, you have to partner with a lot of startups. That is where a lot of the innovation is happening, and that is where we get access to some of the brightest minds doing some of the most innovative work. So we have an exclusive program. We have this Frontier Partner Accelerator program where we partner deeply with a few startups. We pick one startup in one domain, like for example, in agent evaluation. I was talking about agents. These agents actually have to work well. And so agent evaluation is an extremely important thing. And in that domain, we started partnering with Galileo. We pick one startup in every domain so that we are going deep into partnership. We often embed them inside our products. We have commercial arrangements of various kinds so that both the startup and us benefit. And then we also provide dedicated go-to-market support. So this becomes a win-win where the startup gets access to our 640,000 paying customers. That's a huge distribution channel. You get access to our go-to-market support. You can become part of our products if you're doing something interesting, just like Galileo is. And that is a source of revenue for the startup. And it helps us build better products. So for those of you building startups, and if you would like to partner, please consider this. That's all I have. The key message that I wanted to give was it's time for all of us to start thinking about how our companies and our lives are going to get transformed by it, and how do we go about it. What is the platform we need? How do we reimagine the way we work? What is the infrastructure we need, and who we partner with? Thank you.
Hey, Bratin, I forgot one part about your introduction, folks. Other than being an alumnus of Harvard Business School and Yale University, where he did his PhD from, he's also an IIT alumni. And any KGP guys here? Woo-hoo! He's IIT KGP alumni. You want to do the KGP ka tempo thing? Hi, hey! Thank you. I missed that part in the beginning, so I wanted to make sure everybody knows.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.